Have you noticed how expensive everything is becoming lately? You go into the supermarket or you fill your car full with gas and everything is so expensive. Or you're renting a place and your rent increased. Or perhaps you have a variable mortgage rate and your mortgage payments every month go up. Now, this is a big issue and it's called inflation, the increases of prices. What can you do about it? In this video, I have for you the #1 way how you can beat inflation. Are you ready? Let's begin. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen here. I'm so excited. Okie dokies. Yeah, so the #1 way to beat inflation. How do you do that? Now, first of all, what is inflation? As I just said, inflation is a price increase. Basically, the cost of living increases year after year after year. Now, in the last couple of months and year even, inflation has just been absolutely bonkers. It's been crazy. So for example, in 2021, you would pay, let's say, £10 for a meal. And this year it's £11 or even £12, which means the inflation is 10%. In this example, from 10 to £11. Now here's some other statistics. In the US, it's about 8%, UK 8%, Germany about 7%. Japan and China are a little bit lower. But this is just April 2022, and expectations are that inflation is going to get much, much worse, with the BBC saying it's gonna hit 11%, which is absolutely bonkers. So what is the real issue with inflation? Inflation is normal, everything goes up, prices go up. But the issue is that most wages don't actually increase with the same rate of inflation. So let's say that inflation is 10%, most wages are not going to increase by 10%. Have you ever seen this on the news, like wages increase by 10%? It's really, really rare. Now, the issue with that is, if prices are increasing by 10% and your wage only increases by 5%, you have a spending capacity that's down by 5% percent point, which is, it's not very nice. If it's 1 year, okay, but year after year after year, basically that gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you have much less to spend on and you have much less freedom in your life. Now, how do you beat inflation? What do you do about it? There must be a solution, right? Now, the thing that I want to teach you today is you have to become more valuable. Now, most people don't do that. They're reactive. They don't ask for a pay rise. They don't do more than what they're being paid to do. If they work 9 to 5, they clock off at exactly 5 o'clock. They don't do extra tasks. They just do what they're being told to do. Now, most people also are reactive when it comes to asking for a raise. They don't ask for it. They wait for a company to give it to them. But if you don't ask for a raise, why would a company bother to give it to you? Because you're not complaining, you still do your job. But yeah, that's how most people are. They are reactive. Another thing they don't do is they don't work nor invest in themselves. A big portion of becoming more valuable is to increase your skill set, to learn new things, to add more value to your clients if you have your own business, or to your company if you work for a company and have a boss. So basically, summarized, they are a commodity. You're just a number. If you are being reactive, you just apply for a job, you do your job, you do what you're being told to do, you don't do anything extra, you don't go the extra mile, you are a commodity. You're just a number in the company and no one cares about you. So inflation is going to hit you hard if you're one of those people who just lives reactively. So what do you do about it? Again, you need to become more valuable. The more value that you provide, the more that you get paid to do. Now, there's a catch, however, because you have to look out for certain things. Like if you work really, really hard in a low paying profession, it doesn't really matter. You can add all value that you want, but you're not going to get a raise. Let's say that you work in a restaurant and you are a waiter, you know, you earn minimum wage and you work hard, you serve your clients more. I mean, you can get more tips and you can maybe become the head waiter or, you know, even above that, but there's not much space for growth. And there's a lot of competition as well, because it's basically a transactional job. Anyone can do it. You pick a guy off the street, they can become a waiter in a week. That's why people who work at McDonald's, their wages are so, so low, and it's often minimum wage or even less than that if they work illegally. So watch out for those professions. Now, if you are a waiter, while you are waiting, you can still make yourself valuable. Like look at maybe other professions that you can move into where, you know, your skill set matches with what the market is asking for. So, you know, when I moved from Thailand to London, it was really, really hard to start somewhere. So I actually started waiting tables. But I have an accounting degree. So while I was waiting tables, I was also becoming more valuable by learning more about accounting, by becoming qualified, by applying for jobs in that field. So I switched from being a waiter to being an accountant and then a senior accountant. So, you know, if I would just have worked hard as a waiter and not look elsewhere, you know, you're not going to beat inflation very much. The second thing that you have to look out for is short-sighted managers or companies. So these are people that, you know, they watch the time, like, are you on time? You know, it's 9 o'clock and you came at 9:15. Make sure that you work 50 minutes later. You know, yeah, you have to watch out for those people because they can be really a pain in your butt, so to speak. It can be really, really annoying. And, you know, at one of the companies I worked for before, there was this office manager and she was basically counting like, hey, this person, you know, she's supposed to go on a lunch for half an hour. You know, she went for 45 minutes and she didn't do a job. You know, if you work for a company like that, it's often really, really hard to get a raise because, you know, they view you as a commodity, as a number in the office. So if you work for a company like that, make sure that you keep looking elsewhere. And yeah, as I said before, just be careful of low paying jobs. But sorry, with low paying areas, I mean low paying cities or places. So if you live in a really small town where not much is going on and, you know, the only jobs are in the local supermarket or the cafe, you know, you're not going to find anything. So it may be worthwhile to move somewhere else. You know, before I lived in London, I was living in Thailand. And Thailand is an amazing country, but to be an employee there, to be a worker is really, really hard. First of all, they don't allow foreigners to work in, you know, a lot of protected areas. Like I'm not allowed to work in accounting or finance. So all you can do basically is being a teacher or work in hospitality. And that's a commodity profession and it doesn't pay really well. So be careful of, you know, living in poor areas where there's not many prospects, unless you can work online or something like that. Now, I know I covered a lot here and I would like to offer you something of value. So, you know, if you want to know like how to make yourself more valuable, it will likely lead to you getting pay rises. And this is what I did myself. By becoming more valuable, I actually received 5 pay rises in a year. And many people ask me, like, how did you do that? How did you get 5 pay rises in a year? Now, to summarize it, I created this checklist. You know, it's a PDF checklist. You can go to my website, download it. There's no charts. And if you simply follow the steps, you can get pay rises as well, because it will show you how you can become more valuable, how to expand your network, how to ask for a raise, so you can really start to beat inflation. And, you know, the purpose of that is really to have more freedom and more choices. You don't want to be constrained by the outside world prices going up. You also want to have that control of your life, that you're still being able to do the things that you want to do. So I hope you like this video. If you did, leave me a comment in the section below. Make sure you subscribe. and make sure that you download this free checklist. I wish you a wonderful day and see you the next best time. Bye-bye.